Welcome to another episode of Gimmicky Tech, the series where I waste my breath explaining silly tech options to people who like to listen to this sort of stuff. And well, I wasn't expecting to do this video topic so soon. I was thinking I would save it for later down the line in the series, but to be honest, doing later made me want to cleanse myself of all that dirty tubuting tech. Like, it was nearly tempting me to start playing Monarchs again, and I refused to go back into that mindset of being a Monarch player because I used to be a dickhead of a Monarch player. Like, I used to really enjoy being a dick with Monarchs. So, anyway, to avoid playing Domain Lock, I'm going to be covering my favorite extra deck archetype, Time Thieves, instead. You may be wondering what's the correlation there, but really, I just don't want to go back to tubuting tech. I love XYZs. It's my favorite extra deck summoning mechanic. It's just from how splashable the cards are, because, any deck with the summon monsters of the same level can run XYZs. Like, because, fusions are locked behind the fact that you need a spell in most cases, on top of, like, material requirements, and synchros, they require tuners and sometimes even have their own restrictions on them. I mean, of course, there are also links, which are kind of like XYZs in a way. I guess you can argue they're a little bit more generic than XYZs, but, when I go into Yu-Gi-Oh! Proper, it was with an XYZ era deck. So I'm more attached to XYZs than links, and, also links are kind of degenerate in their own way. But also, fun fact, when I started getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! The XYZ era deck was actually the Utopia starter deck, which really just started my long time love for Gargars. Because I just loved how Gargars was like a rank 1-8 toolbox deck, even if they were like horribly slow. And I also liked the gimmick of rank ups, which was also a part of that Utopia starter deck. But, but with 2019 looking like another year without Gaga love, when Tie Thieves were released, they came in and, well, stole my heart, which is ironic because they're thieves. There's a joke in there somewhere. I'm not digging through it though. From how splashable it was, like, you can read a splash Time Thieves into anything, as I'll be covering in this video. But, there's also, their boss monster was a really good toolboxing option, and the fact they were all commons, at least with Wave 1, which was nice for me at the time, because I was like a poor as hell TAFE student on a budget. I just fell in love with this deck, and I have not looked back since. Even when Gargars got better and enabled F-Zero decks. As a bit of a small tangent here, there's like another F-Zero card coming out soon, and I just can't stand the fact that Gargars are just going to become like... The main play is just going to be make F-Zero pass, because that's what is definitely the intentions of that new Gaga 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 Magician. I think that's the name of it. Fuck it. Anyway, this video is not about my love for Time Thieves, which I can write a whole essay about. But, it's about utilizing it as an engine. Like, in decks. So, just don your sickest pair of sunnies, get into your knockoff TARDIS, and get ready to travel back in time with me, because we're heading back to 2019 with Savage Strike. God, that was cringe. So, Time Thieves originated from Savage Strike, which is technically 2018, but since the first wave was TCG exclusive, we got them in 2019, with the OCG players getting them via Extra Pack 2019 as well. The second wave came to both sides of the card game regions in the same set with Initial Assault, which was roughly a year later. And, it's looking like a Dream Mirror situation where we get 2 waves of support before Konami drops the archetype in favor for another one. But, unlike Dream Mirror, I think Time Thieves is a lot more likable as an archetype. I know that's going to bother a lot of Dream Mirror players, but let's be honest, you probably don't even like playing Dream Mirrors yourself. With the wait being a year, you may have thought First Wave Time Thief was unplayable, and you are half right. It was unplayable as a deck, but as a tech option / engine, it was more than playable. Like, First Wave gave us searches, it gave us a boss monster, it gave us an enabler, it gave us the win con, and there was also the trap. So, it was good enough to tide over XYZ enthusiasts such as myself, but Wave 2 is where it gets good, because, it had this one card that just made it a lot better as an engine. So, let's go into the cards so we can find this hidden gem. First up is Regulator, who is a mandatory free-off. This is usually only good in turn 1 boards or empty boards, but being able to tribute it off to special summon 2 time feeds from the deck is good, and honestly would be better if it included hand, but we have a card for that now. Considering that one of these cards will be the Searcher, it's a really good setup for Redoer, who is your end goal with the archetype in most cases. On top of it, it does summon itself from grave if an XYZ is destroyed, which is just great to enable another rank 4 if it stays on the board. It's honestly a mistake if you don't want to play it at 3 because it's just so good. Next up is the Searcher, who is Winder and is yet again a mandatory free-off. Seeing this is an on-summon Searcher for any Time Thief card in your deck, which also has a special summon condition. Is amazing. Just run it free, you won't regret it. Just really, come on, on Summon Searcher with a special summon condition. It's just good. Play it. Capping off Wave 1 main deck monsters, we have Beagle Ship, which, depending on the deck, is either a one-off or a fat zero. He was a free-off with Wave 1 only support, but with Wave 2 giving us a much better option. It's up to you if you want to play a slow option that also allows you to play, well, your opponent's cards. Well, not play, more like steal them, because it just attaches it to your Redoer. But, the point is, you kind of don't want to be running him anymore. Moving on to the only Wave 2 main deck monster, Chronocoder is a free-off, really, for really obvious reasons. The fact it summons itself if you, ditch him as cost for redo his monster effect is too good to pass up on. In fact, I'm going to walk you through this on why I think Chronocoder is the hidden gem of this set, because it's so good. So let's say, for example, you got the Regulator in hand with a spell that we'll get to later. So, you do the normal Regulator play. You get Winder and Chronocoder on board. Winder searches wherever you want, which is most likely going to be another spell, unless you're going for the trap. And then you make Redoer. Redoer ditches Chronocoder as cost, because Chronocoder is part of his material, and it bashes itself. This puts Chronocoder in graveyard, and then Chronocoder will special summon itself from grave. You can now do whatever you want with this. It's a free monster for legitimately anything you want. That's link summoning, synchro, rank 4, or you can just leave it on the field for its battle phase effect, which is a bit useless, but it can be a bit of a turn off for your opponent. The single interaction is just so good, you just can't pass it on, and why I think it's mandatory the Time Thief engine, because yet again, once we get down to one of the spells, which is going to be very soon, you'll see yet again why Chronocoder is just so good. Moving on to the XYZs, we got Redoer and Perpetua, who I'm grouping together just to save time. These are your main cards. You want to run 1 to 3 Redoers depending on how dedicated you are to the Time Thief play, and at least 1 Perpetua. Redoer is for, Chronocoder and, toolboxing, and Perpetua is for summoning Time Thief cards from your graveyard, because you can do that. And it also allows you to stack up any XYZ you want with Time Thief material from deck. So it's a bit of a deck thinner. Mainly you want to be putting that on the Redoer due to how one of their spells work. But again, it's up to you. It's simple as that. Moving on to the spells, we have Time Thief Startup, which is a 2 to 3 off. Depending on your goal with the side deck, most likely will be the 3 off though. Seeing before Startup, we had to normal summon Regulator, like a bunch of scrubs, and that made the package unappealing to decks that relied on that normal summon to start things up. With Startup, any deck can run this engine with no problems, from enabling Regulator without wasting your normal to unbricking hands in cases where you only have the Winder, and then let's say, for example, you have a Chronocoder, but you can just go Winder, search Startup, Chronocoder, Redoer, done. It does everything, even if you're not playing the user's graveyard effect, which is pretty situational, but its main effect is really good. Just run it at 3, yet again, but that depends on the side deck, which we'll get to later. The final spell for the archetype is Hack. Time Thief Hack, to be exact, and it's a one-off. Here's the thing. Hack is the reason why you would only consider running 2 startups, as it enables a surprisingly good win con. Consider this, right? Reader will always be passively stealing and stacking materials by itself, and this is before stuff like Beazle gets involved. With Hack, you can now make that Reader or any XYZ you want into a massive beat stick, and if it has material from your opponent, that's a massive beat stick that can now attack directly. You run at 1 since you do want to search it from Reader, and it has a neat little protection effect, which is kind of useless most of the time, but hey, you get beat stick potential and a direct attacking potential. I think that's completely worth it, running at 1 if you can afford it. Next up is Flyback, and it's a 2 to 3 off depending on the package you want to run, but it's also not mandatory, because Flyback is really good for the deck, but it depends if you have the room. The thing with Time Thief is, once you get your Reader out, it becomes a game of protect the castle, with the castle being the Reader. So you want to be taking out all the Time Thief cards in your deck so you aren't drawing bricks. You know, if it's a deck that does other things besides rank 4 summoning. In a way, Flyback is designed with that in mind, but with Perpetua doing the job now, it's not exactly necessary. It still has the nifty graveyard effect that is just Beazleship, like on field effects, but you know, it's up to you if you want to run it or not. Yet again, we'll be getting into reasons why you don't be running Flyback much later down in the video. So for the final card, we have Retrograde, and before I used to think this card only had its uses in Time Thief decks, not engines, but now I see it more as a side deck option. I would run this instead of Flybacks, because you can search them off Winder, and you would only slide them in against decks that relied on spell traps. Just keep in mind that it does need the Time Thief XYZ on the field, so you know, if you don't have everyone's favorite Doctor Who OC on the field, it's a bit of a dead card, so you want to run it at your own risk in the main deck. Now, while this could be the part where I would explain Time Thief tech options, there is none. Why? Because I was too lazy to research them, and also I want to be talking about Time Thief as an engine in this, rather than talking about, you know, the cards you could play in a Time Thief deck. Because, to be honest, Time Thief is more designed to be an engine than a deck, even with the nature of Retrograde. But, you know, let's talk about the engines now. Ideally, you want to be running either a 12 card engine or 15 card engine, depending if you want to run the traps. And this is excluding the XYZs, of course. So for a 12 card engine, you're looking at 3 regulators, 3 winders, 3 chronocoders, 2 if you want to run a Beazleship, which you honestly don't want to do. 2 startup and 1 hack-up. For a 15 card engine, it's legit the same as the 12 card engine, but you're running 3 flybacks and then the optional side decked retrogrades at 3, of course, to replace those flybacks if you need the negation. You may be wondering why 2 startups when I say it's really good, and you can run it at 3 if you're doing the 12 card engine, and this is where it gets a bit weird. Running 3 startup in a 12 card engine is fine, it just bumps it up to 13. Running 3 startup in a 15 card engine is where it gets questionable, because it depends on if you want to smoke screen or not. For those unfamiliar with the term, smoke screening is effectively swapping out a bunch of cards in your main with your side to pretty much just change the goal of the deck. For an example of this is my Time Thief Dark Lord deck, since it can smoke screen into a stun variation of the deck by simply just taking out the Time Thief cards and adding in more Dark Lords and stuff like Castilla. Adding a 3rd startup to the 15 card engine would make it a 16 card engine, and extremely risky to run a smokescreen strategy since you now have a dead card in your deck. In the end of the day, it's your call if you want to run smokescreen strats or not, but personally, don't run the third startup unless you want to either give up the smokescreen side deck, the hack, or copy of flyback, since if you are smokescreen, you can't side in the retrogrades. Before we move on, there's another package you can run that allows Infinity Negate, but it's too disgusting for me to describe since it doesn't even run Redoer. So I'm just gonna leave a link to it in the description to a video that goes in depth about the package and associated combo. So yeah, there's that. Do what you want with it. I don't care. Just let me know if you actually do it. I will be disgusted in you for grossly misusing Time Thieves in a way. Now, with both versions of the package explained, let's talk about the benefits of running the engine, which may seem obvious to some of you. So if you want to skip this part, I'll put a timestamp up now so you can skip ahead to the deck build examples. For those who stuck around, let's talk about the benefits beginning with Redoer. Redoer, outside of being a reasonably large body for its rank, also has really good effects for toolboxing, and it keeps itself topped up without the help of the package. Redoer can save itself from destruction by banishing itself onto the end phase. It can let you draw a card, and it can even bounce a card to the top of the deck, so you could steal it with Redoer next turn. Another benefit is the fact it's a dark type, so you can use it for Phantom Knight rank up shenanigans, which opens it up to plays such as Doom Chimera, Hard Earth for beat stick options, of course, Blaze Falcon and Stranger Falcon for monster removal of all things, and Shark Fortress if you want to be a little bit cheesy with it, like double attacking all that, and of course you can side in Greedy Saramea for when you're fighting burn decks, as it could just reflect the burn to them. It also has a really nifty nuke option. Of course, there is other benefits for running the package outside of Redoer, such as enabling other rank 4s so you can side in the package if you're playing a deck that can't make the rank 4 toolbox options, such as Abyss and Castell consistently, so you can make those cards when you need them. Another thing is the archetype doesn't lock you into XYZs, so you can use them for other things like link labeling, synchro, Schubert photo engine. As you see, there's a lot of benefits to running Time Thief in your deck, but there's also, well, the real life cost benefits as well. Okay, now I know this may not apply to most of you people watching because you're probably like me and spend most of your Yu-Gi-Oh playtime on simulators because locals are closed right now due to COVID-19, but let's say COVID isn't a thing, and you really like what Time Thief package could do for you. Well, good news, it's dirt cheap. Like, unless you want to go max rarity of the package, which I pity you for, the package is dirt cheap. You can get free-offs of all the Time Thief cards in their lowest rarity for at least 10 USD. You might even get them for less depending on the market on that day. Unfortunately, if you are looking to max rarity, the one of Perpetua, if you game that in Starlight, that's quite expensive. Like, when I was like 200 USD last time I checked. But yeah, it's dirt cheap, so you can just have it for when you want to play it in a deck that does it. So let's sum up the total benefits. Reader is just really great value in terms of its effects and the fact it synergizes with PK rank up to enable rank 5s in most decks is pretty good. The main deck Time Thieves can be used for other stuff, XYZs, and the package is incredibly cheap to pick up. There's also the Chrono Code to play that we already went through, so yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of other things I haven't touched on, and if you think so, feel free to comment it below, because I'm like one man writing and researching these scripts for these videos, so I'm sure there's going to be some things I get wrong or even miss. So I welcome to anyone wanting to correct me and add input. Like with the layer video, I realized I missed like 2 cards, and there was even a guy who corrected me about ectoplasma. But I'm really glad to hear you guys' feedbacks, and I'm glad that you want to add, your own opinions and builds in the chat. So I encourage you to keep going. It makes me happy to see that people are genuinely going through the video, see these problems, and then just build on top of it and correct me. It genuinely makes me happy. So thank you. Now with the packages and benefits out of the way, let's go to the decks. I have, utilized the engine is the best way to put it. Now, keep in mind these are example deck builds. They aren't optimized at all, and they're only made to show off the power of the tech. And fair warning, a lot of these decks focus on the XYZ aspect of the deck. Because, I really like XYZs. Like I said before, there's a lot of things you could do with the engine, so what I show isn't everything they can do. Now, with that said, let's jump right into Plunder Thief. So, Plunder Thief was an idea I had, and, also recently premiered on the channel, but, it's all because I was thinking, Plunder Patrol is kind of boring, let's make it spicier. And it doesn't really change the goal of the deck. It's still Plunder Patrol, so it still does the standard Plunder Patrol stuff, but now you have the Time Thieves who are able to enable your ranks and synchro plays. Time Thief isn't essential to your plays in this deck, but I like it because it's kind of fun, and also I like the idea that, Plunder Patrol doesn't really steal cards, they just copy your effect to summon the extra deck cards. So I felt like it was befitting. This is off script. Befitting to put it into your Plunder Thief deck because now you're stealing your cards. You're actually plundering from your foes. I would recommend it if you're in the market for a Plunder Patrol deck that's actually playable, maybe. Next up is a Persona 5 reference, Phantom Thieves. This is a deck I was hyped about for a while, but until the unfortunate demise of PK rank up ban. So yeah, in other words, screw you Azathoth, you ruined my fun yet again. Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Anyway, now with PK rank up back at 3, this deck is viable again, but with Vasti Bardish banned, it's not as good as it used to be. It can still do its plays, but without the link free, it's not as potent or consistent as it used to be. But if you're looking for a justification to blast Persona 5 music during your matches, play this deck and hope to God that Vasti comes back to 3 or even 1. I really hope it comes back at 1, to be honest, but Fogblade does need to get hit for it. But, that's off topic. Let's move on. Hey guys, Dixie from the future, telling you the deck isn't that bad now, thanks to the new support from Phantom Rage. The cards are not that good, Vader's Wing is a good enabler with Redoer, and it does have that nifty protection effect. And, the fact that Stained Greaves can special summon itself when a PK is special summoned is also really useful for making Perpetua. Unfortunately, the deck doesn't become meta with this, but the deck is a lot better at making its XYZs on a consistent level. So yeah, I would still more recommend Phantom Thieves. This is really just off script. Let's go back to the past now. Yeah, I don't know how to end this. I know what I'm going to do with the edit, but it's just going to be really awkward. So yeah, just add stupid sound effect here now. Next up is my Time Lord build, which I have explained before in my Dark Lord video, so you can just watch it there and find out what the deck does there. Just keep in mind the build I'm showing here is the updated version of the deck, so you're still going to have to reference this video, unfortunately, for the proper build. Anyway, moving on. So my second to last build is Superquant, and it is at super early stages of testing. The idea is to use Redo as a toolbox, mainly hoping you get its spell effect off, while also doing the Chronoco play to make it easier to get the link-free Superquant out. Another bonus is the fact that Time V's can enable the rank 4, and you can also reference Lupin Ranger versus Pato Ranger in the middle of your duels. Or Time Force for US NIS, for those who aren't familiar with Japanese Sentai references. Thanks, by the way, to my friend Jamie for reminding me that Time Force was a thing and was also the one who informed me of the Lupin thing. Personally, I only remember SPD out of all the Power Rangers because the rest of my brain is now full of Kamen Rider references. Wait a minute, I could have made a Zero reference. Damn you, Decade! So, my final build for the video, we have Layer of the Thief, a deck I wish I made up for the Layer video, but seeing fact I made this deck 2 days after the Layer video went up, I guess that's a whoops on my end for not being smart enough. Anyway, the goal of the package in this deck is to enable rank 4 plays for toolboxing, but also allows you to enable Sterine. Now, you may remember this card from the Layer video, and if you do, good job. You now understand the goal of this deck. The deck is designed to shit out the high-ranked plant XYZs, while still being able to do normal layer stuff. I would recommend this if you're in the market for a layer deck that does silly things with XYZs, or you could just check out the layer video for other ideas on what to do with your layer deck. Shameless plug is shameless. Time Thieves is a lot of fun, and while Reader is an incredibly popular card decided in for current meta decks, I feel like the rest of the archetype doesn't get enough respect. So I'm hoping with this video you will be inspired to splash the package in your favorite decks and see what it does to help your deck to be a little bit better. Or maybe it'll be a little bit worse, but who cares. Personally, I'm going to be holding onto the hope that this archetype will continue to get more love, because I would just appreciate it if they give me a reason to keep revisiting the deck in other videos, and maybe make the package even better than it is already before. Although I do not know how you would make near perfection better, because nothing could be ever perfect. Okay, so that outro was a bit cheesy, so here comes my usual off-script outro section. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about Time Thieves. I'm always happy to share my knowledge on Time Thieves, to be honest. I love Time Thieves. But you know, you made it for the video. And like I said before, I really appreciate it if you give me feedback, even your own suggestions on builds, your own ideas. You just put in the comment. I'm more than happy to see it, because that's what's my favorite part of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just how creative you can be and just how broken you can make things. But yeah, if you enjoy what you see, I recommend you go check out my 3 other Gimmicky Tech videos. Maybe check out the not a podcast series. DXD has a discussion for news and generalized opinions. Let's see. Next time will be probably coming either Monarchs or Charmers, depending on what I feel like. I already started work on the Monarch video, but I feel like the Monarch video is just going to be a real big piece of work. And with Charmers, I feel like I can get that a little bit more faster. But it also depends on when they reveal, the rest of the Charmer structure deck. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hit subscribe. Yeah, that's another thing I said. Hit subscribe. Like the video if you really did like it. God, I feel like a scrub YouTuber for saying this. And yeah, like I said, just check out the other stuff. So, thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.